things back home, and big concerns for an awful lot of people about, well, they're paying for their housing costs. We've had all these years talking about the inability of lots of people to get on the housing ladder, even when they're in their 40s and have got kids and want to settle down on the sort of incomes where they would, 20, 30, 40 years ago, you wouldn't think twice about being able to buy a home. That was before house prices went way, way, way beyond the grasp of many people, unless you've got the bank of mum and dad to help you out. So millions of people are renting and are tenants who don't want to be, and so much focus in the latest talks about interest rates going up has been focused on people on mortgages. Millions of people are seeing their mortgages over the next 10 years going up as those interest rates go back to sort of more normal levels from the very low levels they've been at. But a lot of people coming up fixed rates mortgages and being impacted. But of course, that doesn't just affect people on mortgages. It also affects those people who rent from landlords who have mortgages. Let's talk about this with Holly Price, who's an estate agent and property expert. Good morning to you, Holly.
Good morning, Julia. How are you?
Very well indeed. Thank you so much for joining us. Tenants in properties owned by private landlords, which is the majority of people who are renting, are seeing the highest rise in rents in the last 7 years. When they actually started recording these things, rents rose they rose 4% in just last year, and set to go higher still as those landlords see their mortgages going up and they pass that cost on. This is going to be an absolute nightmare for people.
It is, and it's the age-old thing that we've seen in the last couple of years with both sales and lettings. We have a supply and demand issue. So there is not enough property on the market to rent, and there's too many people looking at properties. You have scenarios where 30, 40, 50, I've heard of recently, applicants for one property or even one room, which is completely unsustainable, and we cannot carry on like this.
Yeah, I have to say, I got given some financial help to buy my first property, and I don't know how I would have done it otherwise. And most people, though, are not in a position where they're able to do that. You've got some parents who can just throw the cash around. Other parents, we know, remortgaging their own homes to help their children in their 20s or 30s or even 40s to help get somewhere. The rental market is unsustainable, and crazily, people are often spending more on rent every month than they would have to spend if they got a mortgage, but then they don't have a property to lean back on. And of course, we've got the economic time bomb of all these people who are not going to finish paying a mortgage and sitting on a property. They're going to give up work, be a pensioner, and still needing to pay rent.
I know, it's absolutely ridiculous. If you look at supply sort of year on year, we are nationally, down about 9% on sort of, the supply, what's out there at the moment. And the demand year on year, this is according to Rightmove, has gone up by 20%. Yeah. So you've got 20% more people and 9% less. Yeah. Even in London, you're looking at 24% less properties that are coming to the market. Now, you have to look at things like, as you've just said, it's very difficult to get on the housing, on the ladder. So people are staying in their rented properties for longer, especially at the moment, seeing how the market goes, and seeing sort of what happens with house prices in their area, essentially extending their letting term and staying there for longer. And whilst it's not a sustainable thing for them to pay, constantly more and more, it's also difficult for the landlords, and it's difficult to blame landlords as well, which a lot of people are doing.
And especially when we had rent controls over lockdown periods and they weren't allowed to ask people, and we know there are a lot of people who took advantage of that. People who weren't in dire financial straits went, you can't get rid of me, I won't pay my rent. There's so much more to talk about. It all comes down to, by the way, usual mantra, all together now, everybody put your cereal, you put your cup of tea down, build more houses. There we go. Holly Price, thank you very much indeed. 9:44 is the time. This is Talk Breakfast.